Hola y bienvenidos a la clase del español. Este video es parte de la N.L.L.S Programa para Estudiantes de Idiomas. Este video instructivo es para el Español 1, Cuento B, Parte 1. Hello and welcome to your Spanish class. This video is part of the N.L.L.S program for language learners. This instructional video is for Spanish 1, Story B, Part 1. For this video, you'll need your classroom journal or notebook and something to write with. Feel free to stop, rewind, or fast forward as needed throughout the video. Empecemos. Today's story is titled Mercedes. This is part 1 of this story. Before we get into the story, let's take a look at our I can statements and our additional vocabulary that we're going to be using. On the screen, you see our goals for this story section. These I can statements are the things you should be able to communicate by the end of the section. As you can see, they're broken up into 3 categories: novice low, novice mid, and novice high. These are called levels of proficiency. Proficiency is basically how well someone speaks a language. Understanding these levels of language proficiency and actively working to improve your level of comprehension helps you develop true language proficiency and improves your capacity to communicate and comprehend both the written and the spoken language. In other words, the more practice you put in and the more you use the language, the better you're going to be, and the more you'll be able to communicate in the language. Pause the video and write your I can statements in your journal or notebook. Now let's take a look at some vocabulary. On the screen, there are some additional vocabulary words and expressions that we're going to be using and incorporating into our story. Don't worry about what they mean yet, we'll be coming back to them shortly. Pause the video and take a few minutes to copy them in your journal or notebook. Now let's take a look at the story. Here is your story for B1. Pause the video again and take a few minutes to copy the story into your journal or notebook. Now that you have your story written down in your notes, I'm going to read the story to you slowly. Focus on each word as I say them out loud and pay attention to the way each word sounds. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Mercedes. Soy la hermana de Juanito. Tengo 16 años. Vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. Now I'll read it again a little faster, and after I'll read it at a normal conversational speed. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Mercedes. Soy la hermana de Juanito. Tengo 16 años. Vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Mercedes. Soy la hermana de Juanito. Tengo 16 años. Vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. This time I want you to read it along with me. As I say each sentence, repeat it out loud and make sure you're pronouncing the words as correctly as you can. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Mercedes. Soy la hermana de Juanito. Tengo 16 años. Vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. Very good. Now, rewind the video and do it again until you're comfortable with these words and how they sound. You can record yourself and play it back if you want. Just work on your pronunciation. Now that you have the pronunciation down, let's start the lesson. You'll need to follow along with me, repeat when you need to, follow all the instructions and cues, and just have fun with it. Remember, you can always stop, pause, and rewind as much as you need to make sure you're understanding. Vamos! Let's start with Hola, ¿qué tal? You already know that ¿Cómo estás? Means how are you. ¿Qué tal? Is very similar. It means what's up, what's going on. But you would answer it the same way you would ¿Cómo estás? With Bien, ¿y tú? Muy bien, ¿y tú? Bien, gracias, ¿y tú? Muy bien, gracias, ¿y tú? Así, así. normal, or mal for bad. ¿Cómo se dice qué tal en inglés? Se dice what's up. Me llamo Mercedes. You already know. My name is Mercedes. A quick note in Spanish pronunciation. Mercedes in English would be pronounced Mercedes. Vowel sounds in English can be a little difficult. All of the vowels A, E, I, O, U carry several different sounds. Sometimes they carry no sound at all. In Spanish, however, all vowels have only one sound. So the letter A will always be pronounced A, as in father. The letter E will always be pronounced E, as in egg. The letter I will always be pronounced E, as in English. The letters O and U are not rounded in Spanish as they are in English. So the letter O will always be pronounced O. The letter U will always be pronounced U. So if you work on a computer, you work on a computadora. If you were born in October, you were born in octubre. The vowel sounds in Spanish never fluctuate. So instead of Mercedes, where all three of the E's carry a different sound, in Spanish it is Mercedes. Mercedes es un chico o una chica. Mercedes es una chica. ¿Cómo se llama la chica? La chica se llama Mercedes. Look at the sentence, soy la hermana de Juanito. I am the sister of Juanito. We learned in our previous story that showing possession with an apostrophe S is not possible in Spanish. To show possession, you must use the word de. This is one of the reasons that the word de is one of the most used words in the Spanish language. So this sentence cannot be said, soy Juanito's hermana. That simply does not exist in Spanish. That structure is invalid. You must use the word de and reverse the order from what we typically would do in English. Instead of my brother's car, I would say el carro de mi hermano. My mother's dog, el perro de mi madre. My father's house, la casa de mi padre. This is a must. You cannot, under any circumstances, use an apostrophe S in Spanish. ¿Quién es Mercedes? Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. ¿Mercedes es la hermana de Carlos? No, Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. In that case, ¿quién es Juanito? Juanito es el hermano de Mercedes, right? Juanito es la hermana o el hermano de Mercedes. Juanito es el hermano de Mercedes. Mercedes es el hermano o la hermana de Juanito. Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. In the next sentence, Mercedes tells us her age. Tengo 16 años. I am 16 years old. ¿Cuántos años tiene Mercedes? Mercedes tiene 16 años. ¿Mercedes tiene 14 años? No, Mercedes tiene 16 años. Now we have the sentence, vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Let's look at vivo en San Juan. Vivo comes from the verb vivir. Let's take a look at it. In vocabulario, look at the sección vivir. Vivir means to live. It is an IR verb because the verb ends in IR. Like all other verbs in Spanish, you have to modify it before you can use it. Vivo, I live. Vives, you live. Vive, he, she, or it lives. Vivimos, we live. Vivís, y'all live. But this form is only used in the country of Spain and very few places in Latin America. So instead, we'll use the next one. Viven, y'all live or they live. To use a Spanish verb, you have to remember it's all about the way you end the word. So vivir has an IR, that is, to live. You have to take that IR away and replace it with an O, vivo, I live, an ES, vives, you live, an E, vive, he, she, or it lives, IMOS, vivimos, we live, accented IS for y'all live, vivís, and an EN for y'all or they live, viven. What that does is create a unique word that can only mean a specific person and tense. Unlike English, where we rely on subject pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they, while those do exist in Spanish, yo, tú, él, ella, and a special one, usted, which we'll learn later, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes, ellos, and ellas, they're not mandatory. It's all about what you put at the end of the verb that counts. This program is designed for you to learn that first, and then we'll introduce the subject pronouns later. Let's focus on the first three, vivo, vives, and vive, and look at this verb in action. ¿Dónde vives? Where do you live? Vivo en México. No vivo en Honduras. I live in Mexico. I don't live in Honduras. Mi mamá vive en California. My mom lives in California. Mi papá vive en Texas. My father lives in Texas. ¿Vives en Ecuador o en Colombia? Do you live in Ecuador or Colombia? Vivo en Colombia. I live in Colombia. Let's look at the next verb, hacer. We learned this one in our previous unit. It means to do or to make. But when we use the first person singular of this one, we have an additional little change. Hago ends with an O, which makes it I do or I make, but we also have an added G. Hago, I do or I make. Haces, you do, you make. Hace, he does, she does. He makes, she makes. Hacemos, we do, we make. Hacéis, y'all do, y'all make, but only in Spain. Hacen, y'all do or they do. Y'all make or they make. Again, focusing only on the first three, the singular forms, let's take a look at this verb in action. ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? Hago mi tarea cada noche. I do my homework every night. Mi mamá hace la cama. My mom is making the bed. Mi papá hace la cena. My dad is making dinner. Hago un pastel para la fiesta. I'm making a cake for the party. Using verbs in Spanish is very easy once you realize it's all about how you end them, not what comes in front of them. Now, going back to your story, she says, vivo en San Juan. I live in San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico, the capital of Puerto Rico. Mercedes vive en San Francisco? No, Mercedes vive en San Juan. María vive en San Juan? No, Mercedes vive en San Juan. ¿Mercedes vive en Texas? No, Mercedes vive en San Juan. ¿Qué es San Juan? San Juan es la capital de Puerto Rico. ¿Cuál es la capital de Puerto Rico? La capital de Puerto Rico es San Juan. ¿San Juan es la capital de México? No, San Juan no es la capital de México. San Juan es la capital de Puerto Rico. She continues with the verb vivir again and says, vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. Con is with, so vivo con mi hermano. I live with my brother. Y mis padres, and my parents. You see a difference here between mi hermano and mis padres. Because hermano is singular, only one brother, mi hermano. Because parents, padres, is more than one, plural, mis padres. Let's take a look at this and other relationships that you have. Under posesivos plurales, we have mis blank, tus blank, and sus blank. In our previous unit, we learned mi is my, so mis is my if whatever goes in that blank is plural. For example, mi hermano, my brother. Mis hermanos, my brothers or my siblings. Tu would be your singular. Tus would be your plural if whatever goes in the blank is plural. Tu hermano, your brother. Tus hermanos, your brothers. Su is singular. Sus is plural if whatever goes in the blank is plural. Su hermano, his brother or her brother. Sus hermanos, his brothers or her brothers. Look under familia. These are your family members. The first one is parientes. Now this is something called a false cognate because it looks like it would mean the English word parents, but it's actually relatives. So don't get that one confused. The word for parents is padres, the plural form of the word padre. Primo is a male cousin, while prima would be a female cousin. Tío is an uncle. Tía is your auntie or aunt. Abuelos are your grandparents. Notice it's plural. Your abuelos are made up of your abuelo, grandfather, and abuela, grandmother. Madrastra would be your stepmother. Padrastro would be your stepfather. Hermanastro would be your stepbrother. Hermanastra would be your stepsister. Medio hermano would be a half-brother. Media hermana would be a half-sister. Sobrino is a nephew. Sobrina is a niece. A nieto is a grandson. Nieta is a granddaughter. So you can use these along with the posesivos plurales to say mi primo, mi prima, mis primos. Mi tío, mi tía, mis tíos, my aunties and uncles. Mi abuelo, mi abuela make up mis abuelos. It's actually pretty easy to use once you get the hang of it. Let's finish up by reading through the story one more time and then looking at some questions and answers. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Mercedes. Soy la hermana de Juanito. Tengo 16 años. Vivo en San Juan, la capital de Puerto Rico. Vivo con mi hermano y mis padres. Let's look at some questions and answers that you'll see in your activities for this story. These questions will be a mixture of story questions, general questions, and personal questions. ¿Listos? ¿Cómo se dice how's it going en español? Se dice ¿qué tal? ¿Mercedes es un chico o una chica? Mercedes es una chica. ¿Cómo se llama la chica? La chica se llama Mercedes. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo blank. ¿Quién es Mercedes? Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. ¿Mercedes es la hermana de quién? Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. ¿Cómo se llama la hermana de Juanito? La hermana de Juanito se llama Mercedes. ¿Cómo se llama el hermano de Mercedes? El hermano de Mercedes se llama Juanito. ¿Juanito es el hermano o la hermana de Mercedes? Juanito es el hermano de Mercedes. ¿Mercedes es el hermano o la hermana de Juanito? Mercedes es la hermana de Juanito. ¿Cuál es un chico, Juanito o Mercedes? Juanito es un chico. ¿Cuál es una chica, Juanito o Mercedes? Mercedes es una chica. ¿Eres un chico o una chica? Soy un chico. Soy una chica. ¿Tienes un hermano? Sí, tengo un hermano. No, no tengo un hermano. ¿Tienes una hermana? Sí, tengo una hermana. No, no tengo una hermana. ¿Cómo se llama tu hermano? Mi hermano se llama blank. No tengo un hermano. ¿Cómo se llama tu hermana? Mi hermana se llama blank. No tengo una hermana. ¿Cuántos años tiene Mercedes? Mercedes tiene 16 años. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Tengo blank años. ¿Dónde vive Mercedes? Mercedes vive en San Juan. ¿Dónde vive Juanito? Juanito vive en San Juan. ¿Dónde vives? Vivo en blank. ¿Qué es San Juan? San Juan es la capital de Puerto Rico. ¿Cuál es la capital de Puerto Rico? San Juan es la capital de Puerto Rico. La capital de Puerto Rico es San Juan. ¿Con quién vive Mercedes? Mercedes vive con su hermano y sus padres. Mercedes vive con su primo y sus abuelos. No, Mercedes vive con su hermano y sus padres. ¿Con quién vive Juanito? Juanito vive con su hermana y sus padres. ¿Cómo se llaman tus abuelos? Mis abuelos se llaman blank y blank. ¿Tienes nietos? No, no tengo nietos. Sí, tengo nietos. ¿Tienes sobrinos? Sí, tengo sobrinos. No, no tengo sobrinos. Now it's quiz time! I'm going to give you 20 questions and see how well you can answer them. You're going to need your journal or notebook and something to write with. They'll go by quickly, so pause and rewind as needed so you can write them down. Do your best and, of course, no cheating! Bien hecho! We'll see you back again soon for your next lesson. Hasta luego!